Welcome back. How much do you cost us?
Who's you?
The House of Assembly.
I think the House of, you mean the House of Representatives?
No, I mean
The
now
National,
to say
National Assembly. From the last, what I remember, I think the National Assembly costs, that's the legislative arm of government, costs the country about, roughly about, if not less, 2% of its annual budget. Because if I remember correctly...
What are the numbers?
I'll give you the numbers. If I remember correctly, in the last 2-3 budget cycles, I think the budget has been average of about 4 trillion naira. And I think the budget of the National Assembly then was 150 billion. So you do the math and see how much it costs. Now that has been reduced to 120 billion, so even less now.
Right. Of that 120 billion, how much of it is the personal take home? And here I'm talking about basic salaries and allowances for members.
Okay, well, look, for me, my basic take home monthly is close to about 700,000 to 800,000 naira.
Now I'm not talking about your basic salary.
You mentioned the word basic salary.
No, I said basic and allowances. Well, and so what I'm trying to get a sense of is how much each individual lawmaker, whether at the Senate or the House of Reps, costs Nigeria overall.
Now, if it's going to be disclosed, it's going to be done wholesale. There are many ways you can disclose it. Let the House come out and break down their heads. You see, there are 2 steps on this issue of what the National Assembly is costing. First step, break it down to the public. This is my allowance for transportation. This is my allowance for my constituency office. This is my allowance for... When you break that down, it is only then that the public can now engage in a proper, informative discussion as to whether, okay, this money for transportation is too much. Oh, wait a minute, this is actually little. You need more for your transportation. But when you don't break it down, when you don't put it out there, you give room for speculation. You give room for, and this is my advice that's been my advice to the National Assembly. So to answer your question, I am for full disclosure. I am for openness, because it's almost hypocritical if you're oversighting other people and looking at their books and you don't want anybody to look at your books.
Why do you think that is the case? Why do we have this reluctance, it seems, by the National Assembly to be open about the money that they spend?
I believe, again, I'm only guessing here, that the members of the House are also human. I don't want my dog to know how much I earn. I don't want my brother to know how much I earn. I don't want my blood, because then they'll make demands no matter how little, no matter how much the amount I earn is. I'm just giving speculation. But those reasons are even irrelevant. We need to do it. It doesn't matter why you don't want to do it. It needs to be done because it's public money.
Now, given the penurious state of Nigeria's finances as we speak, without even talking about the numbers,
yes,
do you think the National Assembly should slash their earnings?
2 things. 1, I believe that should be across board. Every facet of Nigerian life, government should be slashed. You know, it's almost natural when you, and I think the Nigerian public, even though they have a right to know, they're making a fundamental mistake in terms of human beings. You know, when people think you're picking on them, there's that tendency to want to resist. Why don't we try a different approach? Why don't we set up something and let's look at the judiciary, let's look at the executive, let's look at the legislature, let's look at every ministry, let's look at everything. And then, by the time we put all these things together, it's going to be almost impossible, or if not stupid, for any legislator to say, no, don't count me in. It's a wholesale thing. That is if this doesn't work. I am for this, but I'm just saying, let's try another approach.
We already have people in government who have sort of understood the symbolism of leading by example.
Yeah.
So the president and the vice president, for example, have said, we will take a 50% pay cut. Why can't we see that sort of exemplary leadership from the National Assembly?
The budget of the National Assembly was 150 billion. That was slashed by 30 billion. Now, when you talk about National Assembly, when people say 150 billion, they think the take-home pay. No, you're talking about so many other...
I can tell you how much you take home that is not part of all those things that we're talking about. The numbers we have is that actually you cost us 8.72 billion annually. This is, your basic salary plus all your allowances.
That's
here
me
we're
as
talking,
a person?
No, when I say you, I'm talking the plural you. As in the National Assembly.
And that's how many people?
And that's 109 in the Senate and 400 and 360 in the House of Reps. This includes furniture allowance, dressing allowance and all that. And what Nigerians are looking at is a minimum wage of 18,000 naira. People who are barely eking out a living. You represent them, and yet your take home is in the billions.
You see, let me say this, Kadaria. I totally agree with you. And to avoid this kind of thing, circulation, is why I say, and I've said it over the years, and I will continue to say it, let's put this thing out there so that you don't give room for speculation.
You know what?
And let people now determine that, wait a minute, if this is what you truly take home for this, break it into subheads, oh no, that's too much, then we'll look at it.
You can help us.
Yeah.
How much do you take home, basic and allowances? You must know how much you earn.
Well, I'm not going to help you.
Why?
Because it's going to be a collective thing.
But then you say you believe.
Yeah.
You've just finished telling me you believe in the openness. You think that Nigerians deserve to know.
I do.
Why can't you lead by example and start by telling us what you take home?
I will tell you, but I will tell you in the proper setting. First of all, I work with an institution. Okay, I work within an organization, and I am pushing that this openness be done. There's systemic ways to do things, and
it sounds like excuses, right?
How much do you earn, Kadaria? I know it's not public money, but how much do you earn?
I work for myself, so some months I earn money, other months I don't. And the public doesn't pay my salary. That's the difference.
And it's a major difference. Very, very.
Yeah, but you don't seem to recognize
I do. I've repeated it over and over and over again. It is a basic difference, and I'm for it. But at the same time, the important thing is this. This is public money. This is something that people are entitled to know.
You are majority leader. Yeah. What can you commit to when it comes to the issue of how much money members of the House of Representatives...
Here's what I can commit to, and I've committed to that it is important. It is important for the National Assembly, at least the House. Now, if the Senate doesn't want to do it, that's their business, but at least the House, to put it out there. This is how much that is earned by members. This is for housing, this is for, and break it down into subheads, and then the second debate can now start as to whether something is too much or is not too much. You cannot debate whether something is too much when you don't even know the real figures.
Now, quickly, another issue which is coming to the forefront increasingly is on the numbers of people that are in the National Assembly and whether actually we even need a two-tier National Assembly. What are your thoughts on this?
I think we do. Because representation is based on population. Okay, Nigeria is a country of about 170 million people. But if Nigerians believe that if there's a general consensus that, hey, scrap this thing, reduce the numbers, hey, why not?
I mean, even in terms of the hierarchy of the House, again, differences exist even though we borrowed from the Americans. So in America, for example, there's no Senate president. The vice president is the Senate president. And then he sort of delegates his powers to, someone else to run the affairs of the Senate. In the House of Representatives, there's no deputy speaker. What they have is the speaker followed by the person who holds your position, which is the leader of the majority in the House, et cetera, et cetera. Why are we, looking to sort of just create things that seem to cost Nigerians a lot of money?
Well, it's a good question. I don't know what informed that structure. I met that structure there. I haven't researched it. Maybe I should. But we're not practicing the American system wholesale. So there are instances that you can...
But essentially, are you opposed to reforming, the National Assembly? And when I talk reform here, I'm not talking cosmetic. I'm talking about real reform that may look at the structure, may look at pay, may look at everything to do with, you know, the way that our lawmakers operate?
No, not at all. In fact, I'm all for it. I would lead the charge for reform if it's going to make a better National Assembly and a better country. Reform presupposes that something is not working, and for all intents and purposes, you know, things are not working. I wouldn't have thought it was the structure. I would have thought it was the operation of the structure. It's like people say, oh, your constitution is not working. I mean, the constitution
Well, I mean,
is
look,
okay.
you were sworn in, look at it, in May. And how many recesses are you going on now? Nigerians are kind of just wondering, what is going on?
Yeah, I totally agree. But again, the way I look at that, for instance, I've heard a lot about this recess there, and I think it's, I mean, Nigerians are absolutely correct. But you see, you don't look at it in isolation. Now, we've gone on 2 recesses, if I remember correctly. We've just gone on the second one. The first one was during the Holy Pilgrimage. Now, you see, again, you have to look at that doesn't happen in America, but you have to look at Nigeria. All politics is local. Half of the National Assembly, they're Muslims. The northern Muslims, the southern Muslims. They take their religion personal and serious. They go on their pilgrimage. Now, during pilgrimage, if you're sitting in the house, the house is going to be empty. It's the same Nigerians that are going to say, look, you have an empty house. What the House did was to go to adjourn plenary. A lot was still going on. Most legislative work is not only plenary. It's not what you see. It's what you don't see. So a lot was still going on. Now, this
But
second break...
Nigerians are increasingly becoming impatient with the idea of, you know, us, the state, getting bogged down in religion, personal religion. We've seen the backlash against sponsoring of pilgrimages and all that. Yeah. Nigeria is supposed to be a secular state. Yeah. So how come our legislators are not taking these things into account? Legislators that go on pilgrimage are not going on the government tickets. They're sponsoring themselves. And Nigeria is a secular public. Nigeria does not stop you from practicing your religion. No, imagine if I went to my employer and every time I wanted to do something personal, I personally give myself a holiday. That is what you guys are doing. You could call religion personal, but the worship of God is personal. But you know, you and I both know that religion is actually fundamental in this country, and that is why look. That is why you even have public holidays during religious occasions. So, for me, I agree with you. That maybe we should look at this thing, look at it very well in a way it wouldn't affect governance. Now, this second break, which is where I was going to, the second break is the yearly summer break that members go on. And you find that even judges are on break right now. But I haven't heard anybody say judges are on break. The National Assembly has been working, but maybe by the time we come back in September, I guess you really will be in full throttle, so to speak. Let us take a break. When we return, we examine Honourable Gbajabiamila's political journey. Don't go away.